This is it. This is the start of another episode of No Laugh Track podcast here at Acme Comedy Company in Minneapolis. I am here with three-time guest Chris Gethard is here headlining. Had a show last night, a couple more this week, several more, 2 each night this weekend at Acme. Chris, welcome back to Minneapolis.
Oh, it's a joy. Thanks for having me.
I saw a tweet. I think it was a tweet you put out not too long ago. Something about it was announcing the show, and it was like coming back. I'm just doing this off memory. Usually, I write stuff down, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, sure.
It was hey, coming back to Acme soon. A place that cares more about the comedy than selling jalapeno poppers or something like that. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I express. I don't know if it was poppers or mozzarella sticks or whichever it is, but I feel so lucky that I've been put in the rotation here every few years, and it's really true. It's one of the things that stands out about Acme is as far as clubs go, the priorities are on target, and not every place can say that. And I appreciate every place that's ever had me, and everybody's got to make money, but you know sometimes when you're in a room where you're going, it is me versus jalapeno poppers tonight, and the poppers are winning, man. Poppers are winning. And Acme.
The power of the popper.
Yeah, and they do not put you in that position here, and it is really pretty, it's a pretty special place.
Yeah. When and how did you get back into, I'm sure you took time off when we were in the heat of the pandemic in 2020. When did you and how did you get back into doing shows?
I just sort of followed... being based on the East Coast, I'm in Jersey now, but still a New York comic, I would say.
Yeah.
As far as the scene I'm a part of, and you saw the people who kind of never shut down, and there were places up and down the East Coast that started doing some outdoor shows, and those kept it going. So you tried to jump onto those, and then the winter hit out in the Northeast, and those went away, and then just kind of kept an eye on it. And if I'm being totally honest, took a look at the comics who were doing shows actively, and I'm going, okay, there's some people who never shut down. Can't say I'm surprised. Okay, here's some people coming back a little early. Okay, now here's some of the people that I think are sane and on my wavelength and of my ilk, and they're starting to do shows. Let me start to reach out to them, see how they're handling it, what's happening. And then, of course, there's agents who are having conversations with the venues every day. And then I have a couple venues where myself and the bookers are in touch personally, so I can kind of pick their brains, see where people are at. So I just tried to be smart, but mostly, we can all be honest. There's comics out here who are not responsible people. I go, okay, let them go scoop up all the ticket sales right now, and I'll stay home with my kid and stay safe. And then when the other people who I think seem maybe to have a head on their shoulders are going out, I'll go out. So just kind of saw where the canaries in the coal mine were and kept my eyes on things.
The flip side of that is also less people were coming out.
Yeah, for sure. So. I'm sure. And I want to say too, I don't begrudge, are there people who I look at it and go, you're insane for doing shows when you did? Sure. But a lot of people where I go, okay, if you're single and this is your only source of income and you don't have a family you're going to put at risk like I do, and you feel like there's a crowd out there that wants to put money in your pocket, you got to pay your rent. I'm not going to begrudge you. So I'm not rolling my eyes too hard at people, but I am saying I was not in a life position to take as many risks. I have a kid. He's not old enough to be vaccinated. So I'm not trying to slam anybody. I mean, there's certainly people out there who we all know have been extreme, but a lot of these people, I go, okay, if you're single and young and healthy and you want to risk it because you got to pay your rent, I get it. That's a really stressful thing, but...
What do you consider your home club? Is there a home club?
My home club, I would say,
or maybe it's changed.
Well, there's a venue in Brooklyn called Union Hall. That's a really nice basement. It's you get 60, 70 people in there. It feels full, and then they can probably double that if they really want to go shoulder to shoulder. That's been a place the past handful of years where when I'm working material out, it's a very good sweet spot of it's a small room. I can fill it up. The people, there's enough people in New York who I think like my stuff and know I do interesting stuff. That's probably the place where I work out the most stuff and where I feel like I get to sort of flex my muscles of building an hour that says something. And one place that I didn't expect to be embraced, but that's taken me in is the Comedy Cellar. I think I'm not really cut from the Cellar cloth in a lot of ways, but they put up a pretty diverse lineup in a lot of senses, including people who do stuff that's maybe not what you would expect from the reputation of the club. And I'm definitely one of their sort of weirdo, more alt comic outliers, and they've been very nice about putting me up. So I think kind of like on the club end, it's probably the Cellar, and then on the go be artsy and build out my stuff, it's Union Hall are the places I would point to as my home clubs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I listened back to when we did this in August of 2018. Mm-hmm. Some things have changed in our lives since then. Some huge, some not so much. The world is a different place. You had it back then. We were promoting a pre-sale of your book, Lose Well. And now that's out.
The pre-sale was not that effective. The book did not sell well. I'm not mad at you or anybody who heard it. It was not the sole mitigating factor, but the book did not do great. It's okay. These things happen.
I heard you. We're not going to. I've built a million other things to talk about here, so we're not going to go in depth in your thoughts on the book right now. But I encourage people to listen to the episode of Duncan Trussell's podcast you did earlier this year.
Oh, that was quite fun. Yeah,
you guys got real in depth about your thoughts on the book.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting.
I should go back and listen to that and remember exactly what I said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The book was. I'm proud of the book. I feel like the book was maybe written under some pressure that I wish wasn't there.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, and had some deadlines that I wish I had maybe stood up for myself more on. But I think it's got good guts. But I wrote another book before it that I think fans of mine really. I think fans of mine, if they're like, oh, have you read his book? They're still probably referring to the book before that, which as an author is not what you want, right? You want them to put them all in equal status.
Yeah, they go to J.K. Rowling. I love, that second Harry Potter book. We did a whole series.
Right. Yeah, it stung. It stung a little bit and led to some soul searching, but I am proud to have put it out there, and I think a lot of what's in there is really good. And Duncan is someone who I think will bring out a lot of the pathos and boil it right to the surface.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I encourage people to go back and listen to that one. It's very good. I wish I had a little clip to play right now. It sounds like you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, I wonder how honest I got on that one.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes I need to bite my tongue, but I'm an honest guy, I guess.
Back then, when you were here last, August 2018, Beautiful Anonymous was at about 130 episodes. And certainly it's been going strong ever since then.
Yeah, it's coming up on 300, I believe. Yeah.
Bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, it's been such a life-changing joy. And it's so fun to go on the road because Beautiful Anonymous fans will come out and support me doing stand-up because they like the show. But the show is not generally very funny or comedic. It can often be quite dark. So then there's sometimes where I'm up here and I'm doing jokes that are a little dirtier or things that happen in comedy clubs. And I can just feel, I feel like I'm performing for people who are like relatives who are like quietly not happy that I'm saying dirty things or bad things. It's very adorable and I'm lucky to have them.
I love that. Beautiful Anonymous, I told you in the past, I'll say it again now. It's such a great concept. It's like,
thank you.
I'm sure you are so proud that that's yours, and it's so unique and easy to connect to.
Yeah, I feel really good about it, really proud of it. And also since I was last here, there's like very few things in my life I brag about, but the Library of Congress decided to archive all the episodes.
I think I saw that. I'm glad you're bringing that up. I forgot about that.
So that's like a thing now that they will have the audio of every episode, which...
How does that happen? How does that come about?
It was actually because of a caller into the show. They sort of announced that they wanted to start archiving some podcasts of, that maybe spoke to like some cultural importance or American culture. And I sit here, I go, man, like, I'm pretty proud of the show because at the end of the day, it's just people call up and in their own words, they got a record and
it's a great time capsule.
Yeah, exactly. It's a time capsule. And some episodes deal with topical things, but more often it's just people telling their personal stories. But, you know, they mentioned COVID during the times of COVID, because how could you not? And
Sure.
even, you know, when there were protests happening throughout the country, sometimes we had episodes that.
You talked to someone from here right
Yeah,
after
we talked
Chauvin
to,
verdict, right?
After Chauvin's, I think, conviction.
Yeah.
We talked to someone who was a public teacher in the schools in, I think, Minneapolis. I forget if it was Minneapolis or St. Paul specifically, but yeah, black male teaching in the Minneapolis schools. So sometimes it's on the nose like that, and then sometimes it's just, I'm going to talk about something else. And also, man, this footage is crazy right now. So I felt really good about the show, and I had a caller who called who was actually like a doctorate student who was like, "You're one of the great ethnographers of our time," and I'm like, "Here's how much I'm not a great ethnographer. I don't know what that is.
Right.
Like, I can't be a good thing if I've never heard of the thing."
Yeah, are you insulting me? Take that back.
And then I Googled it, and I'm like, I can see how the show applies to this. And she is in the academic world and reached out to the Library of Congress, and they were like, yeah, this seems totally on target for what we want in our archives. So proud of that. That's a cool thing.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
One of I was catching up on some of the more recent episodes in anticipation of you being here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I told you last time, I'm sure you don't remember, but I'm also a member of the Facebook chat group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is... Facebook for the most part sucks.
It's like a cesspool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is one part I still like. Is going in and checking in on that group and seeing the comments.
It really is just like we post the episodes, people put their comments on the episodes. Occasionally there's another discussion topic. Everybody's pretty nice. It sort of runs itself. It's like a nice, gentle corner of Facebook where you never have to deal with your asshole cousin getting you worked up about some political ignorant nonsense that they're posting. It's pretty great.
One of the episodes I listened to recently was the sex shop worker.
Oh, that was a very fun one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good times. Good times.
Wow.
Yeah.
The phrase butt stuff, I haven't heard that much recently since I stopped working in morning radio.
Yeah. I was so, because, you know, there's probably a lot of people hearing this who haven't heard it, but she worked in a sex shop. I basically said, is there anything that's like popular but hidden that we don't know about? And she was like, so many more people are into butt stuff than you want to admit. And then we got to talk about butt stuff for a lot of the episode. It was good times. It was good times, yeah. And then
I also enjoyed when you said, yeah, my mom dropped off, listen to this one a million minutes ago.
A while ago, yeah. And it was very funny reading the Facebook comments on that one, because there was one person who put up a thing that was like, now I've heard that poppers will really loosen up your butt, but it doesn't last that long. So I don't know how good it is if you're looking to get into butt stuff, but you're not totally into butt stuff yet. And then someone answering going like, oh yeah, well, you know, there's an internal sphincter and an external sphincter, and poppers affect this one, and you have more control on the external one. And I'm sitting here going, I can't believe I'm reading people giving each other instructions on how poppers intersect with butt play because of my thoughtful phone call podcast.
I love one of my favorite moments was when she was describing her day-to-day job at the sex shop, and she said that her boss told her to stop welcoming people when they came in, and my first thought was like, yeah, don't know.
Oh, no, you don't want.
Talk about anonymous.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going in with shades on, my hoodie's pulled up.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how my day is going.
I don't need eye contact or smile when I'm trying to buy anal beads and all this types of stuff. You're like, yeah, let us do our thing. But I was pretty proud too, because it became a discussion too. Like, you know, like there's like sex shops can also be hangouts for people with hidden fetishes.
That didn't even occur to me.
Historically can be hangouts for, you know, people who are closeted. And she was able to speak to that too. So I really like those episodes of the show. And it's like, this is a person with a good sense of humor who can, yes, joke about butt stuff and also be like, yeah, but also when you're in a sexual underground, you're also seeing marginalized people and giving them a space. And you sit there, you go, whoa, man, like it's the thing that I still love about the show is I go, there's so many places where you can hear celebrities talk to celebrities, and like Conan's podcast, I love it. I think it's a great podcast. I've listened to almost every episode. But I still think, man, like regular people have the best stories. Like I'd rather hear a regular person talk about how they sort of like stumbled unknowingly into a career in like the hidden sexual underground of America. Like and those I think are far more common than we realize. I think people who listen to the show have come to understand like, yeah, you probably every day are crossing paths with someone who, if you talk to them for an hour, your mind would be blown at who they are and what they've done and what they've lived through. And it's a good reminder.
I completely agree. I find myself around strangers sometimes, not in this setting, but, like in real life, not in front of a microphone, holding back, not being real talkative. But then when you do, most times it's so gratifying.
Yeah, it's really pretty astounding. And we live in a world where more and more there's all these infrastructures built now where you can kind of be the hero of your own story, right? Like you get to go online and craft an image and post pictures that show what you want, and you can sign up to follow the opinions of people who you already agree with maybe, or, you can cut out those who you don't. And the real world has not worked that way up until very recent history. And I do like that the show is a bit of a reminder of you are constantly in this fishbowl with tons of other people who have shared experiences and very different experiences. And maybe it's not the best thing that we have so much ability to sort of like curate our own lives into being just exactly what we want them to be in a very controlled sense. I don't know that that's the healthiest thing.
I completely agree with that. 100%. You've brought that on the road and done live shows.
Yeah.
How does it work as a live show?
I sit on a stage and people listen to a phone call out in the amps of the venue, and we just do a phone call. As soon as I said I wanted to do live shows, I had people in my life going, "Oh, are you going to like set up a curtain or like have somebody sitting behind there?" I go, I just feel like I know this crowd and they like the phone calls and they'll go with it. And it's become a very fun live experience because more often than not, what you get is someone on the phone who knows what the show is and where the bar is set, and it's an interesting story and an engaging thing. And then every once in a while, and I always give the caveat at the top of the Live Beautiful Anonymous shows where I'm like, if the call is bad, don't be mad at the caller, be mad at me, and understand you still get the joy of just watching me eat shit on stage. And the crowds really enjoy that. And it's fun for me to have on two hats where I'm like, I've realized like I am both doing the phone call and recording it and putting on a totally separate live show for the crowd. And it's kind of two different things at once. And it's a real balancing act. But I would say far more often than not, those live shows are pretty exciting because you see people sitting there going, "Oh, we legitimately don't know what's about to happen." And it's I think pretty rare to have that, to realize, oh, there's like an actual lack of control here for me as an audience member. It's kind of an exciting thing.
Yeah. So in the Facebook group, the caller that worked at this sex shop identified herself.
Right,
I saw.
Right. Got in on that poppers conversation. Was a big part of the butt stuff. Yeah.
How often do people come up and introduce themselves in person to you, saying, "Hey, that was me"?
It happens. It's another fun thing for me going on the road is it will happen frequently enough that I'm not shocked by it. It's always a little uncomfortable. I'm really good at talking on the phone and pretty bad at talking in person. Like I'm a pretty shy person in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Even selling merch after shows and stuff, which I haven't been doing during COVID, but I'll be selling merch and people I think sometimes feel very uncomfortable when they realize how poorly the conversation's going. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty bad at it if it's not in like that creative context. But I've met a bunch of the callers and I've had a number of sort of like quietly meaningful catch-ups, and there's a few people, like the 39-year-old grandma call was like a favorite of the fan base. She's a woman who just said, "I'm 39, I'm already a grandma." I said, wow, like this was before I had my son. I'm like, I think I was 38 when we had the call. I was like, I'm a year younger than you and you're a grandma. It's wild. And I've met her now 3 or 4 times and she's lovely. And Then sometimes it's much more quiet. Hey, I'm this person who dealt with this one, and it's one of the sadder calls. And I've even had a few very trippy instances where someone will like leave an envelope on the merch table and walk away. And then I'll be in my hotel room at the end of the night going like, wait, what is this? And I open it and it's like, oh, I was the caller who went through that, and I wanted to stay anonymous, but wanted to let you know. Like,
wow.
That one I know, there was a caller who had told me about escaping from a religious cult. And that was, as you can imagine, a really intense call.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't remember what city I was in, but I remember opening up an envelope at the end of the night and going, oh, wow, this is a lot. And another caller who had slipped me a letter who had in high school been kind of seduced by a teacher and called up and hadn't ever called the cops on the guy, and he'd kind of been in and out of her life, and she'd cut him off, but she was, all the listeners were pointing out, oh, she has this very nervous laugh she does that's concerning. Like, she's laughing at a lot of stuff that's feels consistently like a signal of this is unresolved.
Oy.
And she gave me a letter that said, you know, I read all that feedback and listened back, and I said, yeah, they're not wrong, and got to work and dealt with it, and
wow,
this and that, and yeah. So it's a very interesting project to kind of have at the core of what I do these days.
Yeah, please don't stop. Keep doing that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, one of the highlights of the pandemic when we were locked inside was my wife and I watched a series on Netflix and was like, hey, there's Chris Gethard. Space Force.
Yeah, that was
fun to watch. We liked that.
Thanks. Yeah, it was crazy. I was in New York one night. I had auditioned for the part that Ben Schwartz got, and I never heard anything. And then one day I was in New York. I was like watching. It was really weird. My manager, I'm a big comic book fan my whole life.
Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel exclusively. And my manager called me. He's like, hey, there's like one of the Broadway theaters is doing this like tribute to Stan Lee that they're taping for TV. You want a ticket to it? And I was like, I never like take any perks like with the entertainment stuff. I think it's gross, but I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And got out, and all of a sudden my phone had all these messages, and it was like, called my manager. I was like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm glad you called back. He's like, can you get to JFK by 10? And I was like, it's 8. What are you talking about? I'm like, probably not. And like, we had the baby. He was 5 months old at that point. He's like, they want you for a part in the Netflix thing, but you got to get to JFK like right now. So I called my wife, and she was like, yeah, you got to do that, I guess. Like, we'll be okay. I was like, I don't know if I can just ditch my wife with a 5-month-old on 0 minutes notice.
You're giving me anxiety thinking
right?
Like trying to give that to my wife. Hey,
dude, it was so wild. Like,
out of here.
I get out to JFK, I get on the plane, overnight flight. They bring me to a hotel. I sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. They drive me into a canyon in a van, and I'm like,
what?
Yeah, like it filmed in this canyon. I'm like, what's going on? And then I see a full-size rocket ship set up. And I get out of the van, and John Malkovich was just sitting in there on a lawn chair, and I was like, what?
I love this.
What is happening? Like, what is happening right now?
Right.
So I was really lucky to have the part, but I booked it on no notice, and I really, like, usually I play like a very sad nerd in anything I'm cast in, and that one I play much more of a creep, and some of that is just actual sleep deprivation. And then I had to kind of match that.
You're giving away your secrets. Don't do this.
Yeah, that's my actor secret. Is if you want me to play a character that's slightly weirder, make me take a red eye and then let me get 90 minutes of sleep before you drive me into a blazing hot desert canyon and point a camera at me.
Did you see that this week? Our government debuted these prototype new uniforms for Space Force.
No, I hadn't seen that.
Yes.
I gotta go check them out.
They were getting compared to uniforms on the latest version of Battlestar Galactica. Like all these buttons like diagonal across the front.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm shocked that Space Force still exists. Maybe.
Yes. That was a lot of the headlines. It was like, Space Force announces prototype uniforms to let people know they still exist.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they do. Maybe that show will continue and I will get to still have a job. That would be nice.
That would be,
I'm very pro Space Force for 100% selfish reasons.
Good. Yeah, me too.
I don't quite know what they do in real life, but
I'm just going to say, like,
Yeah.
I don't know where we need to be protected from.
Yeah.
I don't even
But
know where
let's
to go
get
there.
it. Let's get it really up and running, huge momentum, so that Steve Carell can keep going and I can live off of his crumbs.
I'm absolutely all for that. Before we're out of time here, I need to bring up your special that is available all over the place.
Half My Life.
Half My Life. I
Yeah.
watched it.
Nice.
It
Thanks.
is so good.
Thank you.
So good. I'm gonna say right off the bat, more comedy specials should be that format. It's made it so interesting to have the documentary behind the scenes, follow you guys around to the different venues, in the car, just everything. Not just the more specials should be like that. I was thinking the whole time, I love this.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's totally. I have such a short attention span sometimes, and that kept me
Good.
hooked the whole time.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I was really intent on, most specials are like well shot and fancy venues and you're wearing a nice outfit and those are great. But I also was like, it doesn't totally look or feel like my experience in comedy.
Right.
It's all pretty small venues. Most of them are venues that I really love.
Apparently not the Richmond one.
Yeah, the Richmond one was tough, man. They stiffed me on money pretty hard.
I heard that.
Yeah, that was a weird situation, but I don't get. We actually have all this great footage that was gonna be in the special, and there was just no way to succinctly explain. Like my wife watched it and was like, "It really feels like you're complaining about money for doing comedy." And most people are going to go, why is he complaining? And I'm like, but they don't understand that I had to like pay to get there and pay for my own hotel and this and that I actually lost money on that show. And she's like, yeah, but there's no way to succinctly explain. You seem like a crybaby who's complaining about making a few $100s. And I'm like, but I spent more than a few $100s getting there.
That's a wife's critique.
Yeah, but it was valid. I'm like, who wants that? Who wants that? So, but yeah, maybe that footage will come out someday.
Yeah, throw it on YouTube or your website or something.
Something like that with a little bit of an explanation. But I'm glad you liked it. I'm really proud of it. I think it does kind of look and feel a lot like what comedy really has been in my experience, and even doing it as many years as I have, where you go, yeah, you're still sitting in traffic and you're still stressing if anybody's going to show up that night, and
you slept on somebody's couch at some point.
Yeah, every once in a while, if I like the person and I trust them and I know their house is nice, I'll save a couple bucks on the hotel and go crash with somebody.
Yeah.
And, I'm not above that, and in fact, quite enjoy it, and I'm glad you liked it.
And then I have to bring up, a specific part of it, and that is basically everything involved with Gatorland.
Yeah.
Because we took the family there. We did an Orlando vacation to 2019.
Yeah.
And Gatorland was the highlight for me.
Good.
I love that place, and you were there for the special.
That place is nuts, and they had a great sense of humor. And when they found out I was doing a joke about them, I was scared they were going to be mad, but they loved it, and in fact let us come in. And there's a spoiler footage of me doing comedy for a bunch of alligators and no humans, and it's
behind the fence, in with the gators.
Yeah, it was really, and people have asked me like, so what was like the safety setup on that? And I'm like, oh, non-existent. Like,
I know. I've been there, and I know that it's
lawless. It was pretty lawless.
They really do just like, it'll be fine.
God bless them. They were awesome people. Great place. Totally nuts.
We did the night feeding was what we paid for and did.
Oh,
and that was fantastic. Part of it was a little petting zoo type thing where they brought out all these, tiny gators we held, and tarantulas and the skink, I think it's called. And then you go on that boardwalk with these little like pellets. We didn't do the hot dog thing like you described. But these pellets, you just throw them in, and there's, it looks like thousands. I mean, there's more gator than water in front of you. It's just wild. You could walk across. There's so many.
The scariest was when they let me in the pits with the albino ones.
I'm sure.
Because those were like huge, and they're like already as scary as alligators, but then also you're told like there's only 10 of these in the world, and they just look different, and they look kind of like monsters, and that was very scary. Very scary.
They are monsters.
Had to get the footage, right? You got to get the shot, baby.
Yeah. How much time passed between, when you did the joke on NPR, they heard about it, and then you actually went down there and film some stuff? How much time was in between?
Let's see. I think I started working on that joke 2013 or 14. Probably did it on NPR 2016 or 17.
Okay.
Filmed it in 2019. So I worked on that joke for a solid 6 years.
Yeah.
And it was definitely one of my better jokes, and I will miss it. And it was one that, it was one that I didn't often do in New York, where everything's kind of like, you need like a million punchlines a minute. But it was that joke I'll always hold near and dear to my heart, because I found when I went on the road and you get out to places where there actually is a car culture that New York doesn't have. And I grew up in Jersey where it's like, right, the idea of like a family road trip, and everybody kind of knows that feeling of your dad takes you to the cheaper place instead of the above board one. And that joke was pretty beloved on the road. And I worked on it for so long, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it really bad.
Oh, I'm so glad you did Gatorland. That is just,
good times.
It's just absolutely
Good
fantastic.
times.
Is there anything else? Did you work on some things during the pandemic in the last year that isn't out there yet that we can look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was trying to find stuff like everybody is. I started a new podcast project with some friends I grew up with who are not comedians, called New Jersey is the World, all about my love of New Jersey. That's been quite fun. And I wrote a comic book that an artist is going to work on, and we're going to see if we can get that out in the world.
What?
And yeah, just a lot of writing. And as you know too, like, having a child, I think, will scramble anybody's brain and kind of rearrange your priorities, let alone during this year where then the world also shut down. So you're kind of in this weird vacuum thinking about it. So I've been writing a lot about that, and I might have a project coming out that's like a lot of thoughts focused specifically on that. So I always keep busy with a million different disconnected things and pray that any of them hit and that people like any of them. So I, just like everybody, went a little nuts during the pandemic, and then also found some things that were exciting that kept me sane. And
did you have a moment like I did when it was just an odd, who could have predicted this coincidence that, we're in a lockdown here in the summer of 2020. And at the same time, my mother-in-law, who was providing daycare for the baby, had to have heart surgery. So she was out of commission for 2 months.
And that's like so scary that that's happening. And then it's also your whole safety net goes away. And
so I had to quit working and stay home and be the daycare, basically. And that was a whole crazy new experience.
I hope everybody's okay, first of all.
Yes. Yep.
Good.
Thank you. Yes, they are.
Our version of that was less extreme, but we realized we didn't like, my wife hasn't been working since our son was born, and now I'm working from home. And then we're sitting there going, man, like, no daycare, babysitters, play dates, none of this. And winter's coming, and we're just going to be inside with this kid, and he's getting really active, and we're going to lose. It's going to break us. So we drove to Florida and stayed with my parents for 5 weeks in their retirement community.
Holy cow. Wow.
Where I was like working out of their garage, and my dad would take my son on rides in the golf cart every day.
Awesome.
And it was awesome. And then also like a sitcom to be living in a retirement community. And there would be times where I'd be like on Zoom, like either recording episodes of Beautiful Anonymous or like on Zoom work calls about important stuff with people. And my dad and I started having this weird thing that I had to talk to him about, where he clearly got a little irked that I was using the garage as the workspace. And so like, I'd be like on a Zoom talking with people, and then all of a sudden the garage door would unexpectedly open it, and like a car would pull in the background, and he'd unpack all the groceries, and I'd just be sitting there like, you're killing me, man. Like, I know this is not ideal and I'm existing in your space, but I can't have you unpacking groceries in the background of work situations. Like, I can't. I'm going to go nuts. And
he's like, you didn't notice the notes I've been leaving around, so I'm going to get a little more aggressive here.
Bad. And then I had to sit down my whole family and just be like, look, like, if I'm in the garage working, I promise you I'm really working, and you got to stay out. And then my mom obviously is like, he's talking about you, Ken. This is not about, so then he's getting yelled at by her, and he's not psyched about that.
Love
it was the whole thing.
Oh, that's
great. The whole thing was a lot. Yeah.
Do you did it make you have any thoughts on your future in a retirement home? Like, nope, this is not for me. Or
oh, my wife and I both were like, You know, times will change, I'm sure, and maybe
Sure.
the convenience of it will become appealing someday, but we were like, that, we can't, let's try to not ever wind up, it felt like Orwellian, dystopian in some ways. Let's see if we can avoid it. But who knows? Maybe I'll hit an age where I just go, that's what I want. I want a line dancing class and a buffet and a golf course outside. All these things that have no appeal to me now. Maybe those things will appeal to me someday. Who knows? Times change.
Yeah, they certainly do. Oh, that's funny. All right, let's wrap this up with a little fun thing I want to ask you about here. I searched your name on eBay.
Oh, I recently had to do that.
Okay.
Someone was asking me about an old T-shirt from my TV show. If I had any, I was like, I haven't had those in years. I said, I'm going to check eBay. There's some weird stuff that comes up of me on eBay.
Yes.
Real weird stuff.
Yeah.
That's funny. I promise you I don't search myself on eBay too often, but it was like a month or so ago that someone was asking about this T-shirt.
I believe that. Did you see, was this posted back then? The Chris Gethard signed 3x5 index card?
I did see the index card.
What was the price on it back then? Because
I think $40. What's it up to?
They've reduced the price again.
Oh, no. I was going to ask what's it up to.
I mean, it's clearly changed hands, and this thing is gaining value.
What?
It was originally at $45, and they have a slash through that, 20% off. It is at $36 right now.
$36, and it's just, I think, my name on an index card.
That's correct.
Yeah. There's also cardboard cutouts of me.
Yes.
Which I was tempted to buy.
Did you see the cardboard cutout? I'm showing it to the camera here. Brandon, you can see that kind of on the camera. So did you know it says mini Chris Gethard casual. I like it describes you as casual.
I am pretty casual in that picture. I look pretty casual.
Mini size cutout. I clicked and got some more details. Do you know how big it is or small it is?
No.
2 feet.
That's a 2 foot tall cutout of me?
I think I need to get a 2 foot tall Chris Gethard.
How much they selling that bad boy
1997.
Great year.
Yeah.
What an idiotic thing for someone to try to make money off of.
Do you recognize that outfit? Like where you were wearing that?
That is a green
shoot?
sweater that I...
Maybe striped undershirt, tan pants maybe?
Yeah, let me see where that's from. Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty random... image of me. Yeah, I have no idea. It doesn't look like anything I dressed up for because my T-shirt is just sticking out. I also like that you can get it delivered by Wednesday. Like if you need a 2 foot tall cardboard cutout of me and fast.
Well, that was a screenshot I did yesterday, so maybe.
Oh, wow.
Might be even sooner. Might be even quicker now. Oh, and then the one more. Let's see. Did I take a picture of that one? Or maybe I didn't. There was a face mask, a paper face mask.
I did see that. Yeah, that one I was kind of psyched that someone's out there selling masks of my face.
Yeah, it's Chris. I wrote it down here. Chris Gethard Smile Celebrity Mask, flat card face. That only $5.96. Only $5.96.
Less than $6 to get a mask of my face. Now this is just clearly some jerk with a printer.
Yes. That, and you know what? That. I mean, I'm all about the side hustle. I don't have any good ones going on right now necessarily, but I always stumble across stuff like that. I'm like, why am I not the guy freaking, selling paper face masks?
Yeah, it's just somebody with a printer who thinks some rube will fall for that. I promise you, whatever picture they found, if you're out there and you really want a face mask of me, you can just go find the picture on Google Image because that's what they did. And you could just print it and cut out my eyes and you'll have the face mask and it'll cost you less than $6 plus shipping.
That's very true.
That's a really weird, funny thing. But yeah, I can't believe you brought that up because I just did. Someone was like, hey, you got any human fish shirts? I'm like, we haven't sold those since 2013. Like, I don't even know if I have one myself. So I searched on eBay and it was just all weird nonsense.
I love that so much. Oh, if you get the camera back here.
What a bad picture they picked.
There you go.
That is a particularly not great picture if you're going to do a face mask. That's a weird choice. Don't do it. Nobody get that. Nobody get that, please.
Little thicker frames than you have on now. I don't think they're the same
Yeah,
ones.
and the hair, it's all forehead.
That's not even it's all flat on your head.
Yeah, I never wear my hair like that.
I've never even seen you like that.
That is like a publicity photo for some sort of television product
It
where
must
they
be.
did my hair. Yeah,
It
I
must
would
be.
never wear my hair like that. All it does is when I wear my hair flat like that, it just makes me feel even worse about my Titanic forehead. So I would never do that. Would never do that.
I think we did it here, Chris. I think we covered what I wanted to.
Good times.
I appreciate. I
Such
love
a
this.
pleasure. Yeah. I'll see you in 2024, 2025.
Yep.
Check in then. God bless you for the kid. I hope everybody's healthy and
You as
happy and
well.
safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And finally, thank you for listening to this, everybody. And if you're listening to it in time, come to Acme and see a show.
Yeah, please do. It's one of the great clubs in this country. And and this is not, I'm not blowing smoke. I started with a new agent during the pandemic. And I said, I go do music venues and stuff. And I really like that. And I'm less interested in clubs these days, except for Acme. And there was one other club I told them, I said, Acme and the Comedy Attic in Bloomington. Those are just very, very special places to me. So I think that hopefully is proof that I really do appreciate this place and what it does.
Yeah. If you know Chris Gethard, it's not some BS.
Nah, I try not to BS too much.
No.
Yeah.
Thank
My
you,
career
sir.
would be a lot better if I could. but I can't.
That'll be the topic next time. I love that. That'll be the topic next time. Thanks, Chris.
All right.